Hello, welcome to the Marginal Show, the cybersecurity show. Do you see that right there? That's that Kali Linux, right? And we're about to get into it. I'm going to show you how to use Nmap in Kali Linux in this video, okay? I'm going to show you 5 techniques to use, okay? So without further ado, let's go right into it. We're going dark. But let's start with an overview. Nmap is a free and open source network scanning tool used primarily for network discovery and security auditing, right? It works by sending packets to target hosts and analyzing the responses to determine which devices are present on a network, what services they are running, and various security related characteristics. Now, in many cases it's already installed, but if it's not, to install Nmap on Kali Linux in 2025, right, there's a little tweak. The proper method is to use the official package manager, right? Since Nmap is included in the default Kali Linux repositories and maintained with up-to-date security patches. Now, the recommended steps is to open a terminal on your Kali Linux system, update your package list to ensure you get the latest version by using this code on the screen, install the Nmap with this code, and confirm installation and version, right? The code is on the screen. So this checks that Nmap was installed correctly and displays the version installed. Now, here's some additional things to keep in mind. Kali Linux typically comes with Nmap pre-installed, but if it is missing or you want to ensure you have the latest version, you want to go over those steps that I just talked about, right? If you require a custom or bleeding edge version, you can compile from source, but this is unnecessary for most users and is generally only recommended for advanced usage or development purposes. Dependencies and support are handled automatically, right? When you are using the APT package manager, which maintains system security and compatibility. Now, for advanced use cases such as scripting or development, you can always refer to the official Kali Linux and Nmap documentation. Now, before I begin into the techniques, please do not use this information in this video for illegal or unethical reasons, right? This is a disclaimer. Do not hack any items that you do not have explicit authorization to hack. Now, we got that out the way. The first technique is to discover live hosts and mapping the network, right? The network inventory. So you're going to want to open a terminal in Kali Linux, then identify your network range. As an example, if your device's IP is 192.168.1.23, you're likely, your range is 192.168.1.0, /24. Now you have to run a ping sweep to discover live hosts with this code right here. Then, the SN tells Nmap to perform a ping scan. That's the host discovery. Only, right? No port scanning. So this will list all online hosts in the given subnet. Now, it's kind of optional to customize probes for better host detection, right? The ICMP echo host request, that's the Nmap SNPE 192.168.1.0/24. The TCP SYN to ports 22 and 80. You have the Nmap and then the SN and the PS 22 and then the comma 80. 192.168.1.0/24. So these flags help when hosts block standard ICMP pings. Then to map the open ports and secure, basically the services, that's the inventory detail. After listing the live host, you have to run a scan on a single host for port and service discovery with this code on the screen. The SV enables version detection of services running on open ports. You have to export the scan results for network inventory, right? The Nmap supports saving scan output with this code on the screen. So this creates a plain text file listing discovered host, which you can review or process further. For graphical visualization, which is somewhat optional, you can use the ZenMap Nmap's GUI for visual topology mapping and easier analysis. You can discover live hosts, right? The Nmap SN, that's the network range. You can list all potential connected hosts, right? The Nmap SL network range, which lists all the IPs, not just the live ones. And then you have to scan for discovered hosts in the detail, right? That's the Nmap SV, that's the host IP. But you gotta save your results after, right? With the, basically the add and then the ON, that's the file name. Now for scripting or automation, which is advanced, you can use the scripting engine NSE for vulnerability or inventory scripts. So that's the first technique. The second technique is scanning for open ports and identifying running services on devices. So to scan for open ports and identify running services on devices using Nmap in Kali Linux, you can use this easy approach. To detect the live host, which is somewhat optional, but it's a common first step, use this code on the screen. Now, this checks if the target IP is up and responding to pings. Then you have the basic port scan. Peter put that on the screen. This scans the most common 1,000 ports and lists which are open. Then you have to scan all the ports, right? And that code is on the screen as well. This gives you a full view of all open TCP ports, which it takes longer to complete for this step, right? Then you have to identify the services and versions. This code on the screen for that. The SV flag enables service or the version detection on open ports, telling you what services like the SSH, the HTTP, and often their versions are running on each port. Then you got to scan for the open ports, the services, the OS, and more. That's an aggressive scan, and Peter, please put that code on the screen. So the A flag activates service or the version detection, the OS detection, the script scanning, and the tracer route, all in one. For detailed info, you can combine with the verbose output, which is on the screen right now. Now, this command provides open ports, running services, their versions, OS guesses, and more. Then you have to specify the port ranges or single ports, which is somewhat optional. You have to scan the specific ports, and that code is on the screen. So the fast scan, for only the 100 most common ports, you can use this code on the screen. So these options are basically useful to save time or focus on particular services. Now, an example of it, or whether it's like an Nmap service version, you can scan the Nmap SV target IP, which probably will typically show. Peter, please put that code on the screen for that. So this output tells you which ports are open and what services run on each, and often the version. Now, here's some useful things to put in your notebook right there. Put in your notebook right there. Now, the Nmap can also scan UDP ports, but also scans are slower. You may need sudo for full range scanning or to avoid limitations. For very fast scanning without full service detection, tools like Rust Scan or Mass Scan are alternatives, but Nmap is the standard for thorough and reliable results within Kali Linux. So always ensure you have permission to scan a network or device. I'm going to give you guys these disclaimers throughout it, right? For a more advanced usage, you can review the Nmap manual or the built-in help. Peter, you can put that on the screen for them, the code. So the most comprehensive and revealing command is for the most, basically for penetration testing. You can put that code on the screen for them, Peter. This produces detailed information about open ports, services, service versions, running OS, and more, all in one command. With that OS and OS being said, let's get into the third technique, right? And that's detecting operating systems and hardware details of networked devices, right? So to detect operating systems and hardware details of network devices, using Nmap on Kali Linux, you have to determine your IP and network range. You can use the command ifconfig to find your system's IP address and network subnet. As an example, if your IP is 192.168.232.128 with a /24 mask, your network range is 192.168.232.0/24. Now, then you have to discover active devices on the network. You can run a ping scan to list all live hosts on the network. And Peter, you can put that on the screen for them. This will show IP addresses of active devices, right? Then you got to detect operating, systems of the devices for specific device IP, right? Like 192.168.232.2. You can use this code on the screen. So the O option enables OS detection by sending specially crafted TCP and UDP packets and analyzing responses via fingerprint comparison with Nmap's database. Then you could use aggressive scan for more details, right? So aggressive scan combines the OS detection, the version detection, the script scanning, and the tracer route. Peter, you can put that code on the screen. So this provides extended info about OS, the hardware info, open ports, running services, and more. Now, some additional things to keep in mind that you can use, you can put that thing on your notes right there, put that thing on your notes right there. You can use the SV to detect service versions, which can also hint at OS details. The OS scan tries to guess the OS if an exact match isn't found, showing a probability score. So ensure you run an Nmap with sudo or root permissions for full OS detection capabilities. Then you have to interpret the results, right? Nmap reports the detected OS with confidence percentages, right? So it may note specific hardware types, whether it's the VMware, the virtual machines, and vendor info via the MAC addresses. So if detection is uncertain, it lists multiple OS candidates. Now, an example of this workflow command, and Peter, you can put that code on the screen. This approach helps penetration testers and network admins identify device OS and hardware info accurately for further analysis and auditing. The fourth technique we have here is performing vulnerability assessments and assisting in penetration testing. So to perform vulnerability assessments and assist in penetration testing using Nmap on Kali Linux, you have to follow this approach. So you have to prepare and reconnaissance. So identify the target IP address or network range you want to assess. Use both passive and active reconnaissance, right? The Nmap, performs active scans by sending probes to the target. Now, an example reconnaissance command, Peter, please put that code on the screen. Here, V makes the scan verbose, A enables aggressive scanning, that's the service detection, OS detection, and script scanning, and the ON saves output to a file for later analysis. Then in regards, like basic scanning with the Nmap in this regard, you can run a simple scan to find open ports on the target machine. And you can do that with this code on the screen. To scan specific ports and detect services, you can use this code on the screen. The SV flag enables version detection of services. Now, in regards to vulnerability scanning using the Nmap scripting engine, that's also known as the NSE, you can use Nmap's vulnerability scripts to identify known vulnerabilities. There are multiple options depending on your needs, right? The script vuln, runs a set of built-in vulnerability detection scripts. The script vulners connects to the vulners.com online database for the latest vulnerabilities. The script vulscan uses offline vulnerability databases like NVD or CVE for scanning. Now, an example, of a command with the vul scripts, Peter, you could put that on the screen. You can combine service detection and vulnerability scripts, right? With this code on the screen too. So in regards to enumerating and further exploitation after identifying open ports and potential vulnerabilities, you can use auxiliary modules in the Metasploit framework for exploitation attempts. Now you can start the Metasploit with this code on the screen. Peter, put that on the screen. You can use info from the Nmap scans to select appropriate Metasploit modules targeting discovered vulnerabilities. Then in regards to automation and advanced usage, automate scans with Nmap scripts, right? The NSE, or write custom scripts if needed. So using scripting languages like the Bash or Python to run repetitive tasks, right? Now an example of the Bash automation snippet, Peter, you could put that on the screen for them, right? That's the, usage, that's the scan script.sh, that's the target IP. Then the analysis and reporting, right? You can analyze scan results carefully to prioritize vulnerabilities based on severity and exploitability. So document findings in a report format for stakeholders. Now you have to follow ethical guidelines and ensure you have permissions for all penetration testing activities. We can't say that enough. I'm gonna hit you guys with these disclaimers, right? Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. Now, the fifth technique that we're going to get into is auditing the firewall configurations and network security, right? So to audit firewall configurations and network security using Nmap on Kali Linux, you have to follow this approach, right? So one, prepare Kali Linux and Nmap, right? Again, pre-installed, all that jazz, etc. But if it's not, follow the steps previously in this video, like in the beginning of this video. Now, and you could do that with this code on the screen. Now, basic Nmap scan, right, to discover open ports, you can start with a simple scan to identify the open ports on the target IP, the firewall, or the host, behind the firewall, and that is with this code, right? This scans the 1,000 most common ports. Now, the ping scan to discover live hosts without port scanning, right? To detect live hosts in a subnet without scanning ports, you can use this code on the screen. Now, to scan specific or all ports, to scan specific ports such as 80, 443, 22, you can use this code on the screen. Now, to scan all 65,535 TCP ports, you can use this code on the screen. For aggressive scanning for OS and service detection, you can use the A flag to detect the operating system, service versions, and enable tracer route and script scanning with this code on the screen. The stealth SYN scan to bypass some firewalls, you can use TCP SYN scan, also called the half-open scanning, which does not complete TCP handshake and is less likely to be logged with this code on the screen. Now, for more advanced techniques to test the firewalls, you can use the ACK scans to map firewall rules to check with ports, right, that are filtered or unfiltered. So filtered or unfiltered with this code on the screen. Now you can use IP ID sequence scans for fingerprinting firewall behavior. You can combine multiple flags and scripts for vulnerability detection with this code on the screen. Now, for firewall specific considerations, you can identify open but filtered ports, meaning blocked by firewall but may respond with specific packet types. You can compare responses to different scan types like the SYN, the ACK, the UDP to understand firewall rules. Then you can check firewall status on Kali Linux itself using this code on the screen and configure firewall rules using the UFW commands as needed. Now, using the TCP dump in parallel for the packet capture, right, you have to verify what packets are being sent and received during scans, so you can run the TCP dump alongside the Nmap with this code on the screen. So this helps analyze firewall behavior at packet level. So then you have to interpret the results and this, the patching. So open ports discovered indicate possible vulnerabilities or misconfigurations. So use findings to close unnecessary open ports and tighten firewall rules. You have to keep firewall software updated and monitor logs for unauthorized access attempts. Now here is basically a basic simple example command that combines the common audit flags in Nmap. Peter, you can put that on the screen. So this command performs a stealth SYN scan, that's the SS, right, which detects service versions, SV, identifies operating system, O, and runs vulnerability scripts, that's the script equals the vuln, right? So by systematically running these tests, you can audit firewall effectiveness and network security posture using Nmap on Kali Linux. So always ensure you have authorization to scan the target network to avoid legal issues, all right? So that is a complete tutorial of how to use Nmap on Kali Linux for a variety of ways, right? You can't go wrong with those. I mean, you can't cover everything, right? But the 5 main ways to use Nmap on Kali Linux is these ways. Now, in regards to alternatives, I don't know what alternatives are out there for Nmap. However, Nmap is the standard. So that's what I have for today. Please take a moment right now to hit that subscribe button and the like button. If you appreciate this video and you want more videos like this, please let me know that by hitting that subscribe button and the like button right now. Also hit that notification bell so you are alerted when I upload new videos, right? So, did I miss something, or is there something I missed with Nmap? Please let me know in the comment section below so we can get that conversation started. Share this everywhere. Let's cybersecurity the world, right? So I appreciate your viewership. Stay safe and see you on the next video.